Okay.
Thank you.
So I love what you're saying because it is how I coach as well. And I coach with somatics in mind. So thank you so much for being here and telling me this, because I have, through the process of getting ICF certified, there's a lot of pushback on this. And so I'm just trying to get certified, to be honest, and then do my own thing. And so how do you balance this way of thinking with the ICF guidelines? Because that's what I'm having a really hard time doing, because I don't know if they're always aligned to me, and maybe I'm just missing something.
Yeah, okay, two ways. I understand, especially if you're trying to, if you're producing a recording at the ACC level or even at the PCC level, using these, there could be pushback. I do not disagree with that. But at the mastery level, in fact, if you see some of the questions at the bars for mastery level, they require these kind of things. I mean, sensations, somatics, energy, etc. It's there at PCC as well, but unfortunately, I think many of the people who are assessing are not probably exposed to it. So when you use somatics, for example, and David Grove's language, etc., they themselves don't understand what it is. I really don't know how to answer your question. So if you're really doing it at the ACC level and the PCC level, I would say dumb down and go down to that level of where your assessors are going to be. I don't know any other. I'm not insulting anybody, but I'm just saying, because I remember when I did my MCC. Now things are a little more streamlined. This was about 10 years ago. I failed 3 times. 4th time I passed once, and the second time I cleared my MCC. So I realized that I could have pretty much done it the way that they wanted in the first phase, exactly the way that ICF expected it to be, and probably got it done the first time. But now, while teaching, we integrate the two. So teach them the way that ICF would like it to be seen, where you can, for example, you can use visualization, for example, and you can incorporate somatics into it. And the MCC assessor would pass it. I'm hoping an ACC assessor would also pass it, but they might get a little bit, because if they are going to be at PCC level, they may not fully understand it. Kathleen, that's the best I can answer. So I would only say, if you're operating at that level, dumb down a bit to match your assessor.
No, I appreciate that, because that's been the hardest struggle for me, because similar to you, it's like, for me, coaching is very energetic. There is a formula, obviously, but it's a formula I can't explain. And it's very much, for me, I think a good coach can see it and can sense it. It's more of a feeling. And so when it comes to like taking the test, because I already got approved, I have the hours and stuff, it just, I have a hard time dumbing it down, because I'm like, this is not what it is. But but yes, okay. Because my thing is, I think I would fail, because I would try to think too much about it versus like, how does ICF want me to think, right? And so it's always a balance, but thank you for that. It helped, because I'm like, yep, I know exactly what I need to do.
No, I'm not, let's say, let me put it this way. The ICF competencies are fantastic. It goes into great amount of depth, the way it's expressed. But again, it's about the lowest common denominator. So it's going to be extremely difficult for those competencies as they are expressed to be able to go far deeper than that. However, let's say even in the PCC markers, there is some reference in terms of energies and emotions, etc. It doesn't specifically talk about sensations. I'm hoping sometime they will talk about sensations and give a little bit of background as to the neuroscience that I talked about. One of the simple ways that we start, even when we are working with absolute learners who have no idea about what coaching is. Let's say someone says that, look, I'm having a problem in relationship, or I'm having a problem At work level, I'm not getting a promotion because of my relationship. I mean, the typical way that we ask questions is, okay, what did you do? What kind of dialogue did you have with your boss or your girlfriend or your boyfriend, and so on and so forth. Unfortunately, the coach starts becoming a bit of a voyeur in terms of wanting to know. You don't need to. The simple way of doing that could be that as you are experiencing this difficulty in relationship or not getting a promotion, what is it that is coming up for you in your body? It takes a little while. Initially, it would be duh, because I have never ever looked into my body. But in our training program, again, this may be a bit of, again, a woo-woo. We start with a simple meditation practice. You learn how to posturally sit with your spine erect, and you do simple breathing, deep inhalation, holding, exhaling. Today, it's known as a box breathing. It became popular because the US Marines used it. So that was something which was taught 5,000 years ago in the Vedic scriptures and yoga and tantra. So once you do the breathing exercise, then you can move into sort of scanning your body. What am I feeling? Because how much you are trying to meditate or whatever, your thoughts will always be present. Even if you close your eyes, you plug your ears, and you suspend yourself in whatever may be a zero gravity environment, the inner recording will go on and you will experience something within you. And those experiences, if you start focusing, you can try and figure out where they are. In very simple terms, I don't want to go into details because coaching is not about diagnostics, but just for you to understand, if you do it yourself as self-coaching, if you have any kind of, it's very much like a Maslow's hierarchy. If you have anything which is cognitively blocking you because somebody is disparaging you, giving you negative feedback, etc., you would feel it here in your throat. The communication gets affected. This throat center is about communication. And if it's about emotional, which is the third level of Maslow, you will feel it somewhere in your heart area. And if you go down safety and survival, it'll be the second and the third level. It'll be closer to your navel, anxiety, and fear, and others below that. And this is a very powerful chakra concept, and that's much deeper when if you really want to go into details, how do you work on it without the client doesn't need to know. You also don't need to know the theories and the backgrounds and the practices of it, but getting them just to focus on it. So I would just ask someone, okay, how do you feel? How do you sense it in your body when you're having this issue with your relationship or your lack of promotion, etc.? And generally, if it's like a promotion, work-related kind of a stuff, they will start feeling it in their throat. And I would ask them to focus on it. If it's a relationship issue with a boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, or wife, they might feel it in their heart area. And I would ask them to focus on it. Ask questions, which is very simply in David Grove's clean language. Where are you feeling it? How are you feeling it? How does it feel like? Is it stationary? Is it moving? What color is it? What shape is it? Believe you me, it's extraordinarily powerful. As they start noticing this, and once in a while, if it becomes so, I would check with them, hey, what is the level of discomfort are you feeling? And if it's really very uncomfortable, take a deep breath and exhale like that a couple of times, and then it releases, and so on. If you do that, and within that, you can also create metaphors. What does that pain feel like? Is it like a jagged rock, or is it a lump of something? Whatever it is. So you can incorporate all this. And these are all, especially at mastery level in ICF, they are completely allowed. And you can do, I have come across people as assessment, 30 minutes, 35 minutes, absolutely brilliant. A visualization process, mixing this up, somatic, ontological, whatever it is. And the client starts with a huge issue, something really, really emotionally difficult. At the end of it, suddenly the client feels relieved, released, aware of what is causing them. Now, it's possible that someone like me who understands this, so I appreciate it, and certainly I would sort of assess them at mastery level, but there is someone who doesn't know anything about it, they say, this is all voodoo. It's like, without showing all the steps in a mathematical problem solving, and you are arriving at the answer, and I don't know how they have arrived at the answer. Even if the coach has asked all the right questions, it's possible. But when you start doing it, ultimately you're a coach not to get just an ICF label, but you're doing it because you want to be a great coach and you want to help people. And this is probably one of the best ways of helping people. And again, I'll stop. Any other questions? And if any of you have something, you don't have to tell any of us what the problem is. But if you have something which is, I have worked with people. There was a person who has an invalidation issue, and it turned out it arose from something that the person experienced at the age of 3 or 4 from the parents. And so just about 30 minutes, and we were able to reach there, and it was cleared. And after about another 1 week of doing it by themselves, came back and said that I'm very, very different. It made a huge difference in their lives. So these are the things that you can, that's what you cherish at the end of the day. It is something that you do which is making such a meaningful difference in the lives of somebody else. Again, I'll stop.
Ram, there's some comments in the comment section here. Layla said she doesn't think that the introduction of somatics is an issue per se, but she thinks it has to do with the coach not having an agenda. There has to be an invitation to explore this, not a pre-programmed structure that the coach has where ICF philosophy is concerned. And Catalina, really quickly, she's saying that she's asking, is there a book that you would recommend that we read that outlines these practices?
Yeah, I certainly agree with the first part. I totally agree. So before you start anything like this, you explain to the client, would you rather that I just do it conversationally with you? Or is it okay if, without sharing anything with me, you are willing to look at your own sensations and be able to talk about it to me? And I don't know anyone till today who hasn't said yes to the latter, because they don't want to waste their time. They don't want to share. Maybe some of them just come for venting. That's a different matter. Then in that case, just you let them vent. But they get something out of it or not, that's not your issue. So yeah, I quite agree. It should not be ever the coach's agenda. There's no doubt about it. Second, Catalina, to be very honest, a book that I'm writing is going to be published end of this year. I have written a few articles on LinkedIn, in the Kocharya blog. You can go to COACHARYA. So you might be able to see it here. That's something that I have written very peripherally. I didn't want to go into too much detail. But there is a book which I found very useful, but unfortunately, the new editions of it do not carry it. It's called The Journey by, I think, Brandon Bays, if I'm not mistaken. Some of you may already know it. Brandon Bays is or was, I'm not sure, an NLP practitioner, and she went through some really terrible experiences. After having talked about everything, at the end of the book, there's a kind of an appendix which provides the description of more or less what I'm talking about in one way or another. Unfortunately, in the recent ones, I do not see that. Another one, for those of you, it's a slightly different way. It's not exactly what I'm saying. There are some books which are written on somatics. There are programs which are offered in somatics. I don't know too much about them, so I'm not in a position to comment on them. There's something called core transformation. I happen to be, apart from being an MCC coach, I'm also a master practitioner in NLP. There's something called core transformation by Connie Ray Andreas and Tamara Andreas. And the core transformation process, again, is about you look within and sort of ask a question. a kind of a pain that you feel, a sensation that you feel, or an emotion that you have, what benefit are you providing me? In what way are you helping me, or am I helping you? And gradually that process allows that sensation to shift, and it does happen. And there are literally thousands and thousands of people who have followed Andrea's core transformation and have given testimonials that it works. I have worked with literally thousands of people, and this process works. So yeah, how it's to be presented to ICF is not my biggest issue. For some, it may be, but it should be possible. It's not very difficult, because this whole thing can be, for example, ICF MCC bars, one of the questions elements which are used is expressed in the form of metaphors, for example, or visualization or something of that sort. So many of these things can be expressed in the form of metaphors when you are exploring them. And how do you sort of explore into the energies, while conforming to the rest of it anyway, in terms of how you partner, how we go with unconditional positive regard towards the client, and empathy, and so on and so forth. So is there anyone who would like to volunteer for a short demonstration, so that you can yourself check out whether what I'm speaking is total nonsense, or does it have any merit whatsoever?
Catalina, are you raising your hand to ask a question, or are you raising your hand to volunteer?
Yeah, I was gonna volunteer, and I was like, no, actually, I don't want to.
Oh.
Yeah. No, more so because of what I'm dealing with right now. I do a lot of this already for my own healing. And so I'm just like, no, I don't necessarily think it would be appropriate right now.
Okay, thank you. I see Fernando waving his hand. Fernando.
I'll
Fernando,
volunteer.
you would like to?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Fine. So I have your permission.
Absolutely.
In line with not going with the coach's agenda. I don't know, without going into any details, if you would like to give, just for the sake of, let's say, if you are doing it from an ICF format, as to what is it that you are seeking and why. I don't want to go too much into it. I'll go straight into the exploration, but just so that people understand, this can be used in a formal ICF submission process as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Do you like to say a few words as what is it that you are seeking?
Yeah.
What is the value of it, etc.?
Yeah. I have a school. It's a level 1 school. I've been training entry-level coaches since 2014. And recently, I did the bridge to ICF in 2018. I made PCC, and I recently made MCC. So the school is pretty solid. It's grown. It's in Spanish. And we're probably the largest school in Spanish, and we're doing very well. We have our systems in place in order. I'm here in Miami, and everything has to work correctly. And I, in the meetings with the academic director and everything, we see that, we're doing it in Spanish. Let's do it in English. We got everything ready to translate it. And of course, the exposure would be more because there's more clients for English language in the world. And even though everything's in place, I kind of like slack off. I will do it in 2025. Even though that with the English language in it, I'll be able to have more resources to train and to build my staff and the company. It's weird. And that's what I'd want to see what's going on.
Okay. To, let's say, shift this from perhaps a cognitive transactional kind of issue to something deeper. So that shift moving from Spanish to English, despite the fact that it might benefit in many ways, what is it causing in you? How does it make you feel?
You know, on one side, of course, there's the growth possibilities, you know, in terms of life and resources. But on the other, it's the challenge. I have to face people in another language, another culture. In Spanish, it's okay. People know me that it's easy for me to go to the woo-woo side. You know, there's a certain thing about the woo-woo, but woo-woo for me is very valuable in the session. In English, I feel I'm gonna have to, how do I sell this so it doesn't sound that woo-woo? That's one aspect. The other, it's gonna be a lot of work. I'm gonna have to work more.
Okay. Please correct me if I understood you rightly, that you don't feel quite authentic or natural when you are trying to do it in English,
Yeah.
whereas you would probably go with the flow when you are in Spanish. So, but do you at the end of the day want to overcome that and do something in English which could make you feel just as comfortable and authentic as you are doing it currently in Spanish? Would that be a true deep desire for you?
That would be a true desire, and that I don't feel uncomfortable.
Okay. With that, if I may, I would like to request you, if you start thinking about now as it is, that you are still feeling ambiguous about moving into English from Spanish for the various reasons that you talked about, and that you are now training, teaching people in English, how does it make you feel in your body? Where do you feel that sensation? Anywhere between your throat and your lower abdomen, in that space. If you think deeper, but take a 30 seconds if you will. Yeah, up to you.
Okay, here's what comes up, Ram. When I see myself deciding to, and from the moment we started this conversation, there was a thing here at beneath the navel, you know, beneath that stomach area. But when I see myself doing, as I love to teach, when I see myself actually in the process of the exchange, the feeling was soothing here. It wasn't an uncomfortable feeling. It was like a warmth in this exact area.
Okay. So at this point in time, if you were to visualize yourself that you are training in English to a group of people like you normally do in Spanish, do you at all, if you re-experience that within yourself, visualize it, do you feel anything in your navel area, as you said now?
No, it's harder here. It turns into a kind of excitement kind of thing.
It's an
Here.
excitement.
Uh-huh.
Okay. But that's good, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
it's exciting. It's enticing.
So really speaking, you don't have a problem there.
No.
Okay.
No.
So no, we started with, you had a challenge
Yeah.
that you felt that it might not feel very natural or authentic for you to be able to teach in English. Now, going to yourself, you're finding that it's not the case, that you are going to be quite excited in terms of doing it. Is that correct?
Uh-huh. It is correct.
Okay. So did that shift happen now? Was it already there all the time for you?
But Yeah. No, now I'm all over the place, because yeah, it's a satisfactory feeling and the excitement. I come up with this stuff on my own to just not go ahead. Is it I'm limiting the growth, or what is it that gets me all freaked out about the idea? Oh, we're gonna translate it. We're gonna have this. We're gonna do that. Weird. It's extremely effective. I see the excitement. That's real. That's undebatable. And
Okay.
and it's not that far away. It's an immediate thing. Huh.
So to sum it up, what you're saying is that there was sometimes a kind of a trepidation, a stress, and anxiety when you thought about teaching in English instead of Spanish. But then as you sort of thought deep about it, whatever you did in your body, you felt that excitement coming up, and now you feel that there is no longer any anxiety or stress, that you can teach in English at any point in time. Okay. Would that be correct?
That is absolutely correct.
So again, with your permission, I would like to anchor this in you so that at any point in time in future, if at any point in time you start having butterflies in your stomach, when you start teaching a class in English, so you might be able to use that to sort of bring yourself up into that state of empowerment at any point in time. Would that be something useful for you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, those of you others as well, if you would like to, you can try this exercise while going through it, and you might like to try and experience it. So, what I would like to Fernando, if I may request you, wherever you are sitting, if you could just sit with your spine erect. That's all that is needed, with your feet firmly on the floor, and with your hands open on your lap. At a later point in time, I would like you to put these first two fingers together, but right now, hands on your lap, okay? Yeah. So hands open, hands on your lap. So as you're sitting with your spine erect, with your feet firmly on the floor, with your hands on your lap, please take a few deep breaths. Inhale deeply as you can from your navel, with your stomach bulging out a little bit. And then exhale, the stomach goes in towards your spine. Inhale deeply, exhale deeply. Inhale deeply, exhale deeply. And as you're doing it a few times, at the end of each exhalation, just hold your breath for a few seconds, as long as you're comfortable. Take a deep breath. Hold your breath and exhale. Hold. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Just do it another 3 times. While continuing to breathe in the background, put your fingers, first 2 fingers together in both hands, forming a circle of your thumb and your index finger. Pressing them, and visualize in your mind's eye. And for you, Fernando, teaching a class in English, amazingly fluently, completely natural, authentic, with the students absorbing everything that you're saying and responding to whatever you are saying. Visualize it, and each one of you choose a subject of your own that you would like to be in, a controlling, in the sense of empowering situation, joyful, where you're feeling truly blessed, truly in control of yourself. Visualize it in deep colors. With every sensation, you are seeing it, you are listening to people, you are sensing it in some way, you are immersed in it, and you are totally in control of yourself, empowered. Press your fingers deep, as hard as you can, and this is an anchor. Anytime in future you wish, you will get back to this state. As you sit down with your spine erect, feet on your ground, and you breathe a few times, put your fingers together, you will always get back into the state. And visualize that this state that you are is a gift that you have received, and you are truly grateful to the universe for having provided that gift, and thank the universe. Slowly, gently open your eyes. Thank you. So now just practice it a few times, maybe for the next few days, 5 days, twice a day, go into this stage and do this, and this power will remain with you. All that you have to do is to put your fingers together, you will get into the shape. And if you have any questions, any problem, then mail me at Ram@Kocharya. I'll be responsible.
Yeah.
Coachary. I think the details are there. And
Kocharya, yeah, I know you guys. I sometimes read stuff from there.
Right. So anytime, I will take responsibility. If it doesn't continue, I'll make sure that it continues.
No, thank you, Ram. This is incredible. I appreciate it. You know, it's a good thing.
I mean, honestly speaking, you didn't have any kind of a problem. I think what you had was probably some kind of a bit of nervous anxiety about, am I sure? I'm not sure, or something of that sort. But believe you me, the same thing about asking that person to go into themselves when you are coaching, even if it's a serious issue of invalidation, if it's an issue of grief, it's an issue of anger, you can just practice it. Just try it, start step by step, and ask them about how you are feeling, feeling in the sense, not, it's not a loose word, but generally what you are sensing in your body between here and here. Because if you are sensing something here, it's cognitive, it doesn't matter. It's just superficial kind of anxiety which will go away. And if you're feeling in your limbs and so on, it's something similar. But if you're feeling it in your torso, as it were, in your trunk area, then it means something meaningful, which really is causing you some kind of discomfort in terms of emotional trauma. So don't try to diagnose it. There is no need to. But as you just like you did, you felt it in your stomach, you watched it, it'll go away. Similarly, if you feel it in your heart, you watch it, it'll morph. It may go down to the stomach, it may go up to the throat, but if you keep watching it and ask them to take a few deep breaths and exhale, it'll disappear. Just try that. If any of you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to help you with that and provide you. And some information is already available on the Kocharya website. So I'll stop there. Pretty much I have covered everything that I wanted to tell you, unless you have any specific questions.
Well, Ram, thank you. I have 2 questions, and you still have like a little bit of 15, 20 minutes to go before the announcements are shared. So please continue to spill more information. So you started to speak on one of the questions that I had, which what if Fernando was feeling fear in his heart? What would that symbolize? You're laughing.
Amisha, it's
Do we have
impossible.
time?
No, it's impossible to feel fear in the heart.
Ah, look at that.
Okay. So, I mean, you can, I don't think Shakespeare would have, because Shakespeare had a lot more wisdom than that. Somebody might say, oh, I'm fearing in my heart. It's not true. If you really, let's say, okay, are you afraid of anything? You don't look like a person who's going to be easily afraid, but are you afraid of anything?
No, I'm not easily intimidated. You're right on that. But there's some things when it comes to family.
Okay,
Gets
so
me.
think about that. For a moment, close your eyes and think about that, what you're afraid of, and try to sense where you feel it, and tell me.
Mm. So interesting enough, I feel like the fear is rooted in love. And I don't know if I'm confusing love with fear, because it's still like in this heart area when I think about family.
Absolutely. Okay. So that which you speak of fear is a kind of invalidation. Somebody likes me, somebody doesn't like me. Somebody is not reciprocating my feelings. Somebody is not responding to me. So it is an emotion of not being accepted, or whatever word you want to use it. Okay. Since we have the time, let me explain something. Many people misunderstand. Are you familiar with the Maslow's hierarchy?
No.
Okay. How many of you here are familiar with Maslow's hierarchy? Many of you are familiar. Please look up Maslow's hierarchy. It's very, very simple. Maslow is probably one of the most original psychologists, humanistic. He developed this whole form of psychology based on Jungian, Freudian, into what is called the humanistic philosophy. His original concept was there are 5 layers that we operate in. He calls it the hierarchy of needs, but it could be many other things. The first level is where we are operating from a stage of basic survival. It is like the movie Revenant, I think it's Brad Pitt, where, I don't know if I'm mixing it up with another movie, but where like he's starving and he goes and then he eats something and he goes and sleeps inside a cow or something like that. I don't know if any of you saw the movie. Is it called The Revenant? Am I even talking about the same movie? It was an award-winning movie some years ago. Okay, anyhow. So you are in a basic survival state where it's almost like an animal kind of a stuff, that I'll do anything to survive. Okay. I could be a cannibal, like that happened in the Brazilian air crash, or whatever it might be. I'm at that state. Once I have enough to eat, I have enough to drink, I'm sleeping, or whatever my basic needs, including perhaps sex, whatever. Then I go to the next stage, which is called safety, where I'm looking for becoming a part of something. And that is how the humankind grew. The cavemen were in the survival state. And from there, the hunters, they became gatherers and farmers, where they came into the safety state, where they formed tribes. They sort of bonded together and they fought against each other, etc., etc. That is the second stage of the Maslow's hierarchy. The third stage is, beyond that, is called the emotional need state. In that emotional need state, you start looking at, okay, does this person like me? Am I happy where I am? Am I being nurtured, etc., etc., all that. And the stage after that is what is called a self-esteem or a cognitive need, that I am looking at, do these people respect me? Do they validate me for who I am? Am I getting the first or the second or the third prize in the class? Beyond that is meaningless, or whatever it may be. Cognitive needs. Am I getting my promotion? Am I getting recognized and giving rewards? And then the fifth level is called the self-actualization, when you go beyond that, where you no longer bother about yourself, your needs, but you look after other people's needs. Now, I mean, this is pretty much everybody today. My granddaughter at class 5 was able to tell me about Maslow's hierarchy, to be very honest. So every one of us, by and large, I'm making an assumption here, I may be wrong. When we are born, most of us are already on level 3. Unless we have been starved, unless I'm a Somalian refugee or someone in Yemen fighting for my life or whatever it may be. In any other part of the world, even in a place like India, which is not considered to be as rich and developed as the United States of America, I was born in a condition where I was taken care of. I had my basic needs. I had my food, shelter, everything. I had the belonging with a family. I had my emotional needs fulfilled. So from an early stage, I and my kids and everybody, and perhaps many of you, were competing to prove yourself. My dad is bigger than you. My mom is prettier than you. And so on and so forth. I'm smarter than you. You are looking for recognition from other people. It's not coming from here. It's recognition from other people. You're looking for that cognitive need. So we are constantly striving for this cognitive need. Unfortunately, especially in today's life, where in social media, you live for your likes and dislikes, and you're just looking for that. Many of our children, many of us perhaps, are doing that. So if you start getting more dislikes than likes continuously, you slip down to the 3rd level. From the 4th level, you slip down to the 3rd level. When it happens more and more often, you go down. Your safety is threatened. I'm afraid. I'm afraid people don't like me. I'm afraid I might lose my job. I might lose my partner. I might lose whatever else I have. And when it gets deeper than that, you literally get into suicidal tendencies. You start wondering. And I'm not theorizing. There's a video on Kochavia. You can go back to it. In the International Coaching Week during May, I had this discussion with 2 people, Dana Zohar, who's the sort of spiritual intelligence and all that stuff. Another is called Dr. Varun Soni. He is the Dean of Spiritual Affairs, Religious Affairs in the University of Southern California in Los Angeles. Varun was sharing with me that he has a flock of 50 to 60,000 students, all Gen Zs. And the biggest problem, 5% of those students have explicit suicidal tendencies. They have tried therapy, they have tried counseling, nothing helps. He said, when I was young, maybe he's about 48, is the same age as my son. When I was 20, 25 years ago, it was about not how do I get myself fulfilled? How do I become happy? In addition to earning wealth, etc., how do I become happy? Today, the kids have decided that I'm not going to be happy. I have no faith in anything because there is nothing worthwhile outside which is deserving my faith. Not my family. All the families I see are broken. Not religion. They are crooks and cheats. They live only for control. You might have some traditional faith, but in reality, if you observe, there's nothing which is there. There's no faith in governance. There's no faith in relationship. There's no faith in anything. You are in a crisis of faith. So when you are in your crisis of faith, you have moved down from that level 4 of Maslow into level 0 or level 1, and you are desperately trying to say, is there a reason for me to live? And this is not a hypothetical question, mind you. If any of you think seriously, and if you're really in touch with people that you're working for, you'll find this is true. I'm getting these questions from people I coach, mostly pro bono. People have desperate problems. Is it worth living? That's a question people are asking because they have lost faith in everything else. So in those kind of situations, the only answer is this. You are moving away from the 4th level, which is about cognitive intelligence, my importance, my ego importance. I am moving into a state where I'm stopping to care about myself alone, but I start caring for other people. What does the person around me need? It may sound foolish, but that's the only way. When you start including somebody else, I'm not talking about the Buddha's compassion that you should be kind and forgiving and unconditional positive regard to anything else, everything else. That may not be possible for most of us. But we can start looking at, how do I serve someone else who is poorer than I am? How do I volunteer my time? Whatever I do, maybe in your country, you go to the soup kitchen, do something, or do whatever you want. And like here, I'm trying to teach people in the slum areas and so on, and trying to get something done, whatever it may be. That elevates you spiritually. So what today we need in the world, in this dystopian world, moving away from crisis of faith, is to have spiritual intelligence. Emotional intelligence alone is not enough. Empathy is inadequate. My being able to sense what you're feeling is good, but it's not adequate. How do I go beyond that into what quantum science calls entanglement? How do I commune with you? Not communicate, commune with you. When you start doing it, you start doing it in respect, you start doing it in harmony, you start doing it in many ways. And this process of somatic awareness, after about 10 years of actual very hard spiritual life and 40 years of background experience in this, that sort of crystallized and came together. And I'm finding today that it's helping people. And which is the reason why I'm here. And I would like more people to adopt this and try and practice it and see if you can. So the point you asked, I mean, many of the things that I've talked about and said. So one of the programs that I run, in fact, I'll be doing a retreat sometime in December for a bunch of people in a beautiful setting near the city of Bangalore, is about what I call create your future. So when I started working in coaching, especially in the United States, when I came there, I found there were people who were 30, 32, they had made millions, completely dissatisfied with their lives. And when I asked them, they were able to tell me what all made them unhappy, but they couldn't figure out what made them happy. I would call it a confused generation. The millennials, most of them are in that state. Now, of course, they are older. This started about 10 years ago when I started coaching. So I started working with them to create a purpose. And that purpose is not something that you can cognitively think about. The purpose is related to passion. And that passion, both of them together, are part of your unconscious. It's like a Jungian concept of the collective unconsciousness, maybe archetypes, and that corresponds with the Vedic concept of collective consciousness. So I worked with them in terms of using some meditative techniques. There are some very powerful techniques where you can internalize and try to figure out, what is it that makes me passionate? What is it that makes me purposeful? Otherwise, people glibly talk about ikigai. The ikigai that is being presented today as a Japanese concept is total nonsense. That is not the real Japanese ikigai. It has been modified by some American New Age guy and for his own purpose of making it into a commercial proposition. So is mindfulness. Buddha never taught mindfulness. What he taught was mindlessness, the state of zero, sunya, as he called it. And it's been made into a big business called mindfulness. When I talk to people saying that mindfulness doesn't mean a thing, it causes you more stress. I say, no, you are just jealous. I'm not jealous. But don't ever call it a Buddhist technique. It is not. So go beyond that, search yourself, and you will find your purpose and your passion. Based on that, you can craft in terms of what are the things that you would like to be in. For example, if you go deep within, you might find that you are a good communicator. My passion is to work with young people. The opportunity may be teaching. Then you start unconscious experiences, going deep into yourself. Try to think of yourself as a metaphor. What is your metaphor? Do you see yourself as a river? Do you see yourself as fire? Do you see yourself as a bird, a lion, a dog, a donkey? I don't know, whatever it is. It all has meanings. And that is how, and the Jungian concept of archetypes and metaphors and the collective unconsciousness is extraordinarily powerful. So if you can define your metaphor and you can define your passion, you can actually create what you would like to do for your future, kind of a horoscope for yourself. And then think about what you want to be 20, 30 years from now. That's your hero's journey, where you want to reach. I'm here. In order for me to reach there, if I walk back, what is the gap? What is it that I need to bridge? It's a very simple theory. It's a very simple concept. And it can be taught. But you have to learn it. So anyway, I'll stop here. If there are any questions, somebody raised it.
There are a
Raise your
few
hand.
more questions, Ram. Thank you for that, by the way. So Layla put in the chat, how do you thread the needle here between therapy and coaching? You reference solving someone's trauma from H3. And then Sue, I want to check in to see if you still have a question.
Yeah, I'll answer that, Sue. First of all, just give one second. Yeah, the word I used, I do not solve. Like, for instance, Fernando's, I didn't solve, he solved it. So it's not therapy. I didn't even know what he explained his issue. I don't know to go into details. Therapy is trying to connect patterns that happened in a childhood, you take them back and so on. I mean, I've worked with people who've been in therapy for 20 years, for God's sake. Spend hundreds of thousands of dollars. And this I can do in 1 hour. And if it can be therapy, so be it. I don't care. But it's not. It's working in the present moment on your sensations. Whether it's a new definition of coaching, it's a new age coaching, I have no idea. But it follows the principles of coaching. I'm not telling them what to do. I'm taking them into a state of awareness. They're experiencing for themselves and deciding for themselves this is what they want to do. I help them to anchor it. Use visualization techniques and so on. So it's pretty much in conformance with what ICF wisely has declared as competency levels. To me, it's not therapy, but sure, they can argue about it. I don't want to get into the argument. So, yeah.
I was going to ask about that because I have done kind of what you're saying, and why I got into coaching is more somatic, body oriented. And I do question that because I feel like coaches sometimes think if someone is having an emotion that might come from their past, it's confused with therapy. So, but I would imagine in the work that you're doing, you might have deeper awarenesses, trauma might come up, and how do you deal with that? And I love, that's one question. And then I loved what you shared about the levels and the teen, where teenagers are. And I'm also kind of connecting that to what you're saying with Misha, that it's surface, but also how to find the meaning within their own being, like how to sink deeper into their own heart. Are you saying that comes from service that they find that, or do you help them tap into a deeper sense of meaning within themselves? Or is that the same one and the same?
I honestly, I don't know. Very honest
Okay.
with you. Okay. Now, first thing you said, things arise from, the emotions arise from the past. That's 100% true. Emotions are memories. from childhood. And I work with regression, and I have taken people into the past, and I've been able to establish the connection between the past. People have experienced it. Fortunately, it was before they were born, when their grandparents were still alive, and they went back and asked their grandparents, is this true, what I experienced? It turned out to be true. So I've done at least about a dozen cases. It's not scientifically established, I don't care, but it's true. There is, I mean, look at it simply. What is it? Your DNA carries, and the DNA carries memories. So it's but natural that there is an essence of memory that carries through you. And those memories are stored somewhere. We know that it's stored in two places, the cerebellum near the spinal end of the spine as long-term memories, and the hippocampus as short-term memories. These are genuinely proven by neuroscience. So I don't understand. Yes, therapy and coaching, do they converge at some point? Do they overlap at some point? To me, the only difference and what I'm interested in are two things. One is I don't interpret anything. I let the client interpret. The client create the awareness, and they're doing it in the present moment. And I'm not even asking them to go back. When you're a child, is this what happened? You re-experience a memory, but tell me what you're feeling at this point in time. So very technically, one can argue that there is some part of therapy involved in it. Okay. But ultimately, does it conform to the logic and the functionality of what coaching says? I believe so. I truly believe in that. I do believe that I should not influence the client in any way. That is why I don't even want data. I don't even want to know what the client is going through. Like, for example, I said, this person suffered something, invalidation at the age of 3. I didn't even know about it. I said, look, whatever it takes you, can you trace that back and experience that situation which caused you this invalidation? And later, she chose to explain it to me. That's her choice. Okay. So what was the other question that you asked? Something else. One was about therapy, something about the teens, etc.
I guess
something
just
else?
finding more, like if you're having someone do service, like finding their own internal meaning and purpose.
Yeah. It's my belief. Okay. Now, in this International Coaching Week, we had some extraordinarily powerful people speaking. Dana Zohar, Varun Soni. If you haven't, you should read Dana Zohar's book, Quantum Management, Zero Distance. It's called Zero Distance Quantum Management. She talks about how she's a quantum physicist from MIT. And she took up psychology and spirituality, and she's the founder principal of 12 Principles. And she has developed a system which a company called Haier in China used. And they bought over GE Electricals, became the largest white label manufacturer in the world, HAIER. Some of you may be using their equipment. It was practically unknown in the world till about 10 years ago, but now today they are the world leader. And the chairman of Haier, who speaks only Chinese, he doesn't care to speak English, he says, I owe everything to Dana. And you should read that book. It's an extraordinarily powerful book. Another one, Dr. Lisa Miller. Lisa Miller runs a school of spirituality and psychology at Teachers College in Columbia in New York. And she has written a book called The Awakened Brain. It's a brilliant book where she talks about experiments that she has done, data that she has collected on people who just believe and they have faith, and how that changes their life. Now, it's going to take time to help people understand. And many of what she says is about serving other people. When you have faith in yourself, let's put it this way. We talk about coaching presence, and people have written books which are all nonsense. What is coaching presence at the end of it? What is presence? Presence, you are centered in yourself. You don't care a damn about what other people think of you. You are validated. That is all presence is. You are confident, you are authentic, you have integrity, you are harmony, you are centered. That's all it means. And you can write tomes on it. And when you have it, you realize that it's not all about yourself, that it's about something larger than you. Then you relate to something much larger. You start realizing your energy beingness. You're no longer just a particle, you are a wave, if it makes sense to you. And then when you are in that state, then you are connected to everybody else, and you are here for a purpose. And the purpose is not just you, not acquiring wealth, not enjoying yourself, but helping other people as well. And that, I think, is the true purpose of coaching. Coaching is about spirituality. When we forget that and we only look at the mercenary aspect of coaching, oh, I'm on the top of the hour, I cut off. My Eastern wisdom tells me I can't do that. I'm insulting the client if I tell the client we are on the top of the hour. I stop my coaching when the client tells me, yes, we can stop. And therefore, if I have a 1 hour coaching session, I plan for 2 hours to spend with them if necessary. But that's not our style when time is fixed for us. Time seems to be measured in dollars. Is it really? I mean, these are questions we need to ask ourselves. And that is where you start realizing you need to accept where you are with gratitude. All of us here, whatever problems we are having, we all have our limbs working. We can hear, we can see. We are what? Less than 10% of the population who have all our limbs, facilities, faculties, and everything working. And we are reasonably well off, irrespective of what problems we have. Why don't we celebrate that we are part of that 10%, instead of saying, no, I need to be the top 0.01%, where maybe if I'm flying economy class, coach class, I should be flying in private jet. Does it make you any happier? And I can answer that question. I did. It didn't make me any happier. It made me only more greedy. And there's no end to that greed. I'm much happier today where I am with a fraction of the wealth that probably I had at one time. So, I mean, these are things which, and again, I mean, I'm just expanding on it because there's some time. Everybody thinks that meditation is bliss, it's ecstasy. It is not. When you start meditating, all the garbage, all the rubbish, all the terrible things, shame, guilt, and everything come up to the surface. They have to be cleared before you can actually enjoy meditation. People don't tell you that. And everybody says, oh, no, I'm disturbed. Yes, of course you'll be disturbed when you start meditating, because it's about bringing up all the garbage from within you and it's expelling it. You're going through a kind of a rehabilitation when you meditate.
Ram, thank you for saying that. No one says that. You're right. There is a question here from Stefani, and I want to just make sure I get some of these good questions out to you. Everybody's leaning in. And I also want to add that I've put some announcements in the chat too, and please go ahead and tend to those. So Stefania said, could you please develop more on the next steps after you identify what sensation, emotion, pain, and where, I'm sorry, I just lost my spot. And where it is located? How do you help dissipate it?
Just watch, just witness, just observe, that's all. Don't get involved in it. It's like if you're looking up, watching the clouds in the sky, let them move. You're not causing them to move. There's nothing that you can do about it. The same way you can do nothing about your thoughts. Just let them flow. The same way, watch your sensations. You may start in your throat. I ask them just to watch. And they say, it's choking me. Okay, please watch. If it is choking me too much, take a deep breath and exhale. Oh, now it has come down to my heart. And how is it feeling like? It's dark, it's red, it's burning, it's choking. Okay, just watch it for some time. Take a deep breath and exhale. Oh, it's gone. Now it's in my stomach. And suddenly you will feel everything is gone. I promise you it'll happen. Okay? I promise you, and everything I believe in. And if you have a problem, reach out to me. I'll do an exercise with you. Because that's all that it takes. You don't use logic. Just watch it and it'll go. Have faith. Because you created that horrible monster of an emotional trauma. And you are capable of dissolving it. It's as simple as that. Nobody else caused it. You can blame others for all you care, but you are responsible for your own pain and suffering. What I'm saying may not sound very nice to many people, but that's the truth. But there also is that's a solution. Any other questions, Michelle?
Shakti has her hands raised. Yes. And I want to make a comment on Rob. He puts in the chat, it doesn't have to be therapy to be therapeutic. I thought that was well stated.
Yeah,
Shakti,
okay.
go ahead.
Thank you. Yes, I really appreciate what you just said, Coach Ram, and I'm about being responsible and taking responsibility, of course, for your emotions and things. The what you mentioned about breathing, and I know that at least from my understanding and from my experience, of course, when we breathe, we move energy, and so the emotions tend to move through the body and potentially dissipate, depending on maybe how deeply they are rooted or where they're coming from. I'm curious where you see the value in a client having a deeper maybe understanding or experience of that emotion in that moment, of course, so not really going in the past, but staying with that emotion in the present moment and having an understanding of it versus breathing through it and moving through it. Does that question make sense?
Yeah, okay. I mean, I don't want to quote yoga, but many of you would be more familiar with Pilates. I'm doing Pilates. So in Pilates, they make you do breathing, deep exhalation, deep inhalation. Okay, why do they do it? And they do it with certain physical movements. So if you, let's say, stretch yourself, and if you do not exhale or inhale and you just hold it, your muscles will get cramped because first of all, they don't get energy, and secondly, they are not in sync. So breathing is part of your energy, and therefore it's extremely important that you regulate your breathing along with your postures. That's what is yoga about. Pranayama and asana, those two stages of yoga, are intimately connected with that. And the purpose of that is lead to awareness. And you start getting awareness in terms of why something is happening within you. So once you start with a breathing awareness and a body awareness and the scan, any emotion that you experience, and it doesn't matter when it happened, you don't even know. I'm invalidated, and my boss says something, I don't like it. Somebody has said something to me, I don't like it. I feel sad about it. I feel angry about it. You don't have to go to the past. It doesn't have to be therapy. At the moment, something this morning, something a few minutes ago, somebody has said, which has upset me. Think about it. Relive that experience. And if you genuinely has upset you, if you relive that experience, you will feel it either in your heart or in your stomach area, depending upon whether it's a relational thing, or if it's a stress-related thing, or cognitive, if it's in the throat. And you just observe it. And if it becomes, you don't have to necessarily take a deep breath and exhale unless it becomes very uncomfortable. But if it is there, just watch it. Simple thing. If you have pain, believe you me, it works. But you have to be prepared for a while. If I have a headache, I just watch my pain. I just watch my headache. After some time, you may have the pain, but you don't have the suffering. These two are two different things. Suffering is I induce myself. Pain is what my body has. I can disengage from the pain. I don't have to suffer. Suffering is option. Pain is real. And especially if the pain is caused by some, not necessarily an emotional reason, if it's caused by some physiological reason, sure, you have to take medicine. That's a different thing. But we need to understand these differences as to what is it that we are creating. Stress is never external. Stress is always internal. And emotions we create always internal. Nobody makes us angry. We make ourselves angry. Nobody makes us sad. We make ourselves sad. But it's very convenient for us, and it's pleasurable for us. You made me angry. You made me sad. And so you will remain sad, angry, depressed for the rest of your life. That's a simple truth.
Oh, Ram, I'm enjoying you. And as the saying goes, when you're having fun, time flies by. It's said another way, but I'm rephrasing it. We all understand. And this has been good time spent. Thank you for spending the time with us. And thank you everyone for engaging. And you kept us engaged, Ram. Thank you for that. And so we're in the thick of our summit now. Ram started us off. He launched us off. So today, and I see some thumbs up too, Ram. Today we still have our 12 o'clock session and our evening session at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and love that you'll join us again throughout the day. Take care, everyone. Ram, don't hang up yet, and see you again. Bye-bye. Great job, Fernando. Thank you for volunteering. Really appreciate you.
Pleasure. My pleasure, totally. It's a deep, deep pleasure with great respect. Any of you have any clarifications you need, you can always get in touch with me, ram@kocharya.com. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ram. Excellent.
It's in
Thank
the
you,
it's in the chat. You're welcome, Fernando. See you.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye-bye. Take care.
Don't hang up.